It was supposed to be a regular Saturday afternoon. Two black teenage brothers, Malik and Jaden, were just excited to do something most teens only dream about: visit a luxury car dealership. Not to buy, of course, just to take a look. Maybe sit in a few cars, snap some photos, and get inspired. But the moment they walked through the glass doors, the energy shifted. Salesman looked up, then looked away. No greetings, no friendly smiles, just cold stares. Within minutes, the boys were being asked to leave, told this wasn't a place for browsing. No reason, no explanation, just assumptions. Embarrassed and confused, Malik and Jaden walked out, heads low, trying to laugh it off. But inside, something didn't sit right. Why were they treated that way? Was it how they dressed? Their skin? Or maybe the fact that they didn't look like your typical customer in a luxury showroom? What the staff didn't know was that the boys weren't just some kids off the street. Their father, who prefers to stay out of the spotlight, happens to be one of the most successful businessmen in the country. A quiet billionaire. And when he heard what happened, let's just say, he wasn't quiet for long. The very next day, a Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly pulled up to the dealership's front entrance. Heads turned, cameras came out, and behind the wheel wasn't a chauffeur. It was the man himself, dressed sharp, calm, but clearly on a mission. What happened next left the staff stunned, and the internet talking. Because this story isn't just about two teens getting kicked out of a dealership. It's about respect, assumptions, and what happens when the truth drives up in a car you can't ignore. And that moment was just the beginning. The man who stepped out of the Rolls-Royce wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't need to be. His presence alone turned heads. Dressed in a tailored navy suit and polished shoes, he looked every bit the part of someone used to being taken seriously. But the most powerful thing about him wasn't the car or the suit. It was the calm look in his eyes. He walked through those same glass doors his sons had been pushed out of just the day before. Except this time, the staff was on alert. Smiles appeared. Greetings came quickly. Suddenly, everyone had time. They didn't recognize him at first. To them, he was just another wealthy customer. But when he asked to speak to the manager and mentioned his sons, faces started to shift. It was the same manager who had asked Malik and Jaden to leave, the same one who didn't even bother to hear them out. Now, that same man was face to face with their father, and the mood in the room turned tense. Back home, Malik and Jaden had no idea what was happening. Their dad hadn't told them his plan. He was a private man, rarely posting online, and always reminding his sons to stay grounded no matter what they had. But this time was different. This wasn't about money or fame. This was about respect, and teaching a lesson, not just to the dealership, but to his sons as well. What kind of lesson? That's what makes this story so much deeper than it seems. Because this father wasn't there to yell or demand an apology. No, his next move would surprise everyone in the room, and eventually the entire internet. And just when the staff thought they understood who he was, he reached into his coat pocket. And that's when everything changed. As he reached into his coat pocket, the manager's eyes flicked nervously. Was he pulling out a complaint form? A phone to record? Maybe legal papers? But instead, the man calmly placed a slim black business card on the counter. Embossed in silver, it had just a name, a private equity firm logo, and a phone number. The kind of card you don't hand out unless you mean business. The manager picked it up, read it, then looked up. His face went pale. This wasn't just any customer. This was someone with real power, someone whose opinion could carry weight in circles far beyond car sales. The tension was thick. Employees shifted behind desks, pretending to work, but clearly listening. One salesman whispered to another, "Is that the guy from the fault list?" No one knew for sure, but they were all thinking the same thing. This was bad. And not just because of what had happened the day before. The real fear was what might happen next. Back at home, Jaden was scrolling through his phone. A classmate had posted about seeing a Rolls-Royce outside the same dealership they'd been kicked out of. Jaden froze. "Yo, isn't that Dad's car?" he asked Malik. They exchanged a look. Their dad never made scenes. He handled things quietly. But deep down, both boys knew this wasn't about a car anymore. Inside the dealership, the father asked a simple question. "Do you remember asking two young men to leave yesterday?" The manager hesitated. "We have a lot of customers, sir." But the look in his eyes said otherwise. He remembered. He just didn't want to admit it. The father didn't raise his voice. Instead, he looked around at the luxury cars on display, then back at the manager and said, "Let's talk about how you treat people before they drive one of these." And that's when things really started to shift. The manager stood frozen, unsure whether to defend himself or just listen. Every word felt heavier in the silence of that polished showroom. The father didn't come to cause a scene, but his calmness only made the moment more powerful. He slowly walked past a silver Bentley, then paused beside a black Lamborghini. Both cars his sons had admired the day before. "You see," he said quietly, "they didn't walk in here to beg for attention. They came to be inspired. But instead of giving them a moment of your time, you made a decision based on how they looked." Around them, the other employees pretended not to stare, but you could feel the tension in every corner of the room. Customers nearby glanced over, sensing something important was happening, but not sure what to make of it. Phones buzzed in pockets, whispers passed between sales desks. The energy had shifted, and nobody knew what was coming next. Meanwhile, Malik and Jaden sat in their bedroom, piecing it together. The photos, the whispers online, the sudden attention. Their dad hadn't said a word when he left that morning, but now it was clear. He was at the dealership. And if they knew anything about their father, it was this. When he takes action, it means something is about to change. Back at the dealership, the father turned to face the staff again. "You judged my sons in seconds," he said. "Didn't ask their names, didn't ask their story. Just saw two black teens and made your choice." His voice was still calm, but sharper now. "But I'm not here for an apology. I'm here to show you what you missed." He stepped aside, and outside the glass doors, another luxury car pulled up behind the Rolls-Royce. And that moment, right there, was when everything began to shift towards something no one in the room was ready for. The second luxury car that pulled up behind the Rolls-Royce was a matte black Maybach, sleek, silent, and impossible to ignore. Heads turned again, but this time, the vibe shifted completely. The driver's door opened slowly, and to everyone's surprise, it wasn't another businessman or security detail. It was Malik. Jaden stepped out from the passenger side, adjusting his hoodie, trying not to smile. Their dad had sent a driver to pick them up and bring them straight to the dealership. They had no idea what he was planning, until now. Inside, the staff stared. A few salesmen who had ignored the boys yesterday suddenly stood up straighter. One even stepped forward, trying to act friendly, as if yesterday had never happened. But the boys didn't say a word. They walked in side by side, calm and confident. And right behind them, another twist, someone began filming. Not their dad, not the boys. It was a woman near the front desk, quietly recording with her phone, whispering to a friend, "This is the same dealership from yesterday. That video's already going viral." That's when it hit the manager. The story was already out. Before he could fix it, before he could even cover it up, the internet had started telling the story for him. The father turned, now standing between his sons and the staff. "I didn't bring them here to embarrass you," he said firmly. "I brought them here so you could see what you missed out on. Not just future customers, but future leaders, creators, thinkers. And you treated them like they didn't belong." The silence in the showroom was deafening. No one moved, no one interrupted, and just when it seemed like the moment had peaked, one of the employees spoke up from the back. But what they said wasn't an apology. It was something that would change the entire direction of the story. From the back of the showroom, a younger employee stepped forward. His voice was quiet at first, but steady. "I remember them," he said, nodding toward Malik and Jaden. "I was the one who offered them water while the others laughed. I told the manager we shouldn't send them away." The room turned to him. The manager stiffened, clearly caught off guard. No one had expected anyone on the inside to speak up. The father looked at the young man, then gave a slow nod. "Thank you," he said simply. "That's all it takes sometimes, just one person to do the right thing." He then turned to the manager. "This isn't about shaming anyone. It's about reminding people that the way you treat others matters more than the sale you're chasing." With the tension peaking, the father walked over to a jet-black Rolls-Royce Wraith parked near the entrance. He placed a hand on the hood, looked at his sons, then back at the staff. "I was ready to spend $1 million here today. Not for me, for them, but I'd never invest in a place that treats people like they're invisible." Everyone held their breath. The moment felt final, until Jaden stepped forward. "Wait," he said. All eyes turned to him. "What if we *2* buy something today, but not from *them*?" He pulled out his phone and turned the camera on. "We'll buy from *him*, he said, pointing at the young employee who spoke up. The room went silent again. That's when the twist came. The father smiled and revealed the final move. "I've just purchased a major stake in this dealership chain. Effective today, there's a new hiring policy, a new training program, and a new general manager." The current manager's face dropped. He had just been fired, in front of everyone. As the news sank in, the entire dealership stood still. No one could quite believe what had just happened. The same man they had brushed off as just another angry customer was now their new boss. The manager, still speechless, quietly stepped aside, knowing there was nothing left to say. It was over. Malik and Jaden stood by their father, trying to process everything. What started as a humiliating moment had turned into something powerful. Their dad hadn't just defended them, he had created change. And not with shouting or revenge, but with calm strength, quiet action, and undeniable influence. The young employee who had spoken up was offered a promotion on the spot. "We need more people like you in leadership," the father said. "You saw something wrong and said something. That matters." As they left the dealership together, Malik looked back at the cars through the glass. He smiled, not because he was walking away with keys, but because he was walking out with pride. They didn't need to prove anything anymore. They already had. The story spread quickly online. The video of the confrontation went viral, and people across the country shared it as a reminder of how small actions, both good and bad, can ripple out. Conversations started about unconscious bias, respect, and the importance of seeing people for who they are, not who you assume them to be. In the end, this wasn't just about luxury cars or money. It was about dignity and the power of standing up, quietly but firmly, when it counts. Malik and Jaden didn't just visit a dealership that day. They watched a lesson unfold in real time. And now, thanks to their father, so did millions of others.